I should have brought my fan with me. So the villain of the week is the MLK Fakers, and there's so many of them, not just the ones that we're going to talk about tonight, Jen, but a whole host of them year after year after year. They are fakers. So those that get it. Those that don't. We have a few clowns, I call them, the fools that just don't seem to get it. So earlier this week on Monday, which was the holiday for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and some people thought it would be a good idea to twist his words to fit their own agenda. Oh my God. So let's talk about who we have up. So many people. But Senator Kyrsten Sinema set off a flurry of furious condemnation Monday with a tweet to commemorate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Remember, this happened just days after she helped to sink the Democratic Party's hopes of passing voting rights legislation. Let's put up what the dear senator had to say about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today, we remember the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Hashtag MLK Day. It only took a few moments for folks to just tear her apart, and rightfully so. I got to call on Black Jesus on this one, members. I really, really do. You know, I did that segment, Jenk, as you know, on CNN, and I forewarned that people like her and others were going to use the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I said they better not utter one word about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know why? Because there's one thing to quote Dr. King. It's another thing to carry out the mission of the man. And certainly the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would not like what is the foolery that's going on right now in terms of blocking of voting rights legislation. And then, you know, the good senator said that Congressman John Lewis, the late great, was one of her heroes. Well, you know what? Damn it, she's not acting like it. Oh my God, my blood was boiling. I'm gonna you go ahead and jump in because I can keep going on for days over this one.
Yeah. So look, Hillary Clinton put up a quote about white moderates from Martin Luther King. And by the way, she didn't put up the real, like the quote she put up is real. But the one that's more famous is from the letter from a Birmingham jail, where he said the white moderates were worse than Ku Klux Klanners.
And the White Counselors Association. Yes, he did. Go ahead, Jink. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. And so don't come in here with your moderate votes and be the exact people that Martin Luther King was talking about, and then pretend that you're on his side. No. Mainstream media will let you whitewash your history and his history, but we're not going to let you do that. Okay,
that's right.
And so, guys, I need you to understand. Martin Luther King, when he was fighting for the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, you know what his number one obstacle was? The filibuster. It's the same exact thing. It's not an analogy. It's not similar. It's the same thing. And he talked about the segregationists and the racists that used the filibuster as an excuse to block the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act because their real agenda was racism. And we're in the same situation right now. So don't come at us with Martin Luther King if you're not going to vote for something that is the voting rights. It's about voting rights. No, it is literally 100% hypocritical, not 99%.
That's it. And we got some footage of the Dr. King in his own words. We should go ahead and roll that team and let folks hear Dr. King in his own words what he had to say about the minority senators using the filibuster in very horrible ways.
Well, I think the tragedy is that we have a Congress with a Senate that has a minority of misguided senators who will use the filibuster to keep the majority of people from even voting. They won't let the majority of senators vote. And certainly they wouldn't want the majority of people to vote because they know they do not represent the majority of the American people. In fact, they represent in their own states a very small minority.
There it is. And Reverend Dr. King called tragic is the perfect word to describe what was going on when he made that comment in the 60s. And as you laid out, Cenk, what is absolutely going on right now. We have People for Bernie. We should put up what they had to say, what they wrote, rather. The white moderate MLK warned us about, and they quote tweeted Kyrsten Sinema. So appropriate.
Yeah, and I also need people to understand the historical context too. So yes, sometimes in the past things were bad enough that senators would say, "Oh, I don't like black people, and that's why I'm using the filibuster." But most of the time they didn't do that. They also pretended not to be racist. They also pretended to care about the Senate traditions and Senate rules and Senate etiquette. But the filibuster has been used predominantly in American history to block civil rights. That's right. Kind of the point of the filibuster. So when they talk about the Senate tradition as if it's a pleasant thing, no, another American tradition was slavery. Well, that's not pleasant. So don't come at me with it was an American tradition. Some American traditions have been horrible, and the filibuster literally prevented lynching, anti-lynching laws. Yes, senators used the filibuster to block anti-lynching legislation. They were pro-lynching, but at the time they said Senate tradition, that's why I'm doing it. And so when you hear talk of Senate tradition now, understand it's the same disguised racism as it was in the past.
Come on, just the 21st century version. As a matter of fact, every civil rights bill, they use the filibuster to block. Every single one. That is what has been used. And even when Senator Manchin got up there, yesterday to try to justify his foolishness too, they lean on that tradition nonsense. And then you hit the nail on the head. A lot of traditions in this country that are absolutely not good. And we got one more person to put up here. I mean, we could do a whole segment just on this, Cenk. People who should not allow one quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to come out of their mouths or to be on their Twitter, but yet the fools do it anyway. Let's just go ahead and put this one up. Kevin McCarthy, from the halls of Ebenezer Baptist Church to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, #MLK, spent his life spreading what he called, quote, the gospel of freedom, end quote. He never gave up and never preached hate. His words and example inspire us today as we celebrate a great American on #MLK Day. Well, obviously it doesn't inspire you enough, brother. Doesn't inspire you enough, because you guys are definitely standing on the wrong side of history when it comes to a whole host of things, Cenk, that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. espoused before he was murdered. Let's talk about health care. He did believe in universal health care, may not have called it in exactly the way we frame it today or call it today, but he did. He stood up against what he called the three evils or the triplets: militarism, materialism, poverty. Hello, somebody. So the issues that most Americans agree with us on that we should have in this country right now: universal health care, making sure that people have good jobs. He believed in a job guarantee, paid family and medical leave, you name it, Cenk. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was certainly ahead of his time on these issues. Yet these people stand up and utter the words of this man, but they don't care. They don't give a damn about his mission. And one more point, I want to encourage members to read The Radical King, edited and introduced by the one and only Dr. Cornel West. And so he takes the Reverend King in his own words, baby, and lays it out. Dr. King was not a moderate. He definitely was a radical when it came to issues of securing dignity and decency for humanity in this country and in this world. And if he were alive right now, this moment, these fools will be calling him an extremist, Cenk.
Oh, 100%. Look, that's such a great point, Nina. If Martin Luther King was alive today, he would not be considered a universal hero. Fox News would obliterate him. Corporate media would jump in and go, I can't tell. Some people say Martin Luther King is fighting for civil rights, and other people think he's an awful communist terrorist. Let's call it even, right?
Yeah.
guarantee you that's what would happen. And look, Nina, we've talked about this before. Back in the day, unfortunately, they did literal assassinations like Martin Luther King's. These days, they use the media to do character assassinations.
Come on.
So you think they wouldn't have assassinated Martin Luther King's character if he was around today? I guarantee you they would have done it. And not just right-wing media. Corporate media would have helped them do that. And
that's exactly right.
And Nina, as you were saying, the last campaign he was working on when they killed him was the Poor People's Campaign.
Yeah.
So when he fought to unite the races to fight against poverty, he was more despised by the establishment than when he was just fighting on the racial issue. So, and remember when Fred Hampton was murdered, when he began to unite the races to fight against poverty. That is the one thing that the establishment in this country cannot bear. So, and they whitewash him now. He brought people together, they say. Yes, why did he bring them together? To fight against the establishment and to get change for poor people. You left that part out, and it's kind of an important part. Even the I Have a Dream speech, read it, listen to it. You'll be surprised by it because you've only heard the anodyne parts. If you read or listen to the whole thing, you will see he talks about the vicious racist in Alabama. He didn't mince words. I mean, they tried to kill him and they did kill him. What, was he supposed to be polite to them? So Martin Luther King is not at all what now the myth-making factory of corporate media has turned him into. They turned him into a Ken doll, right? So now speaking of monitors, one last point on that. Here's another quote you might have heard because it's a fairly common one from Martin Luther King, but think about it in this context. Those who do nothing while witnessing injustice and wrongdoing do worse than those who commit acts of injustice. So on this show, we've been covering for about 20 straight years the Republican hypocrisy on Martin Luther King, but now we must talk about, as he did, the white moderates, the moderate Democrats, as well as moderate people in news who tell us, oh no, the filibuster is American tradition and it must be protected. No, you shouldn't have voting rights. No, you shouldn't have higher wages. No, you shouldn't have health care because we must protect not people, not citizens, not African Americans, not Americans. We must protect Senate traditions which block progress.
That's what my grandmother used to do when there were no words. Think you did that. Hello, somebody. And can we just, while we're wrapping up this particular segment, let's just go ahead and let the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s granddaughter, Yolanda Renee King, have the last word on this.
All the elected leaders out there who are tweeting, posting, and celebrating my grandfather, Dr. King, today, my message to you is simple. Do not celebrate, legislate. The Senate must do the right thing when this legislation comes to a vote tomorrow. Senator Sinema, Senator Manchin, our future hinges on your decision, and history will remember what choice you made.
Come on. I said the last word, but I got. Amen.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.